space, final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, are Admiral Elliot.
Kapla.
And Dr. Squee.
Today is a good day to die.
It is, because we are finally talking about Way of the Warrior. It's been
sorry, James,
first episode.
you're breaking up as you say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Thinking that's the only thing left to stop us talking about this episode is for the technology to break
Everyone,
down.
The breaking news about Walter Koenig.
Yeah, don't joke, Elliot. Don't even joke.
Yeah.
No, we are phones off.
Yeah.
Don't matter what happens in the world.
We have
we're
no
talking
social
about Way of the
media
Warrior.
on now for the next hour.
So what were you doing for the during the apocalypse? They ask us when we get to the afterlife. It's like, well, funny you should say. We didn't know what was going on.
We were talking about a really good episode of Star Trek. So
Come on in.
A bit of
You're
background
on
on this one before we get started. I just want to see, how did you guys feel when you found out Worf was going to join DS9? Because it was unexpected at the time, and it was big news. And I'm just wondering what your take on it was at the time.
After you, Elliot.
I was sort of a bit, what's he going to be like with it? Is he just going to be like Next Gen Worf? And I think he was sometimes badly used in Next Gen.
Yeah.
Like DS9 has made Worf like the amazing character he is.
Interesting. Yeah, they've probably got the best episodes with Worf.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And
there are some. I just want to give some defense to the Next Generation that they did have, like the one where he they came up with the whole ceremony of being dishonored. And everything.
Yeah.
There was some nice antecedents. Like without that groundwork, you don't get to DS9. I just want to give them the props.
Oh, yeah, there was some nice stuff, but I think also there was some pretty rough at times in Next Gen.
Yeah. For
So
my
it's sort of
take,
like, does it? And like we're three years into DS9, and I was thinking, does it really need a Next Gen character coming in? We're quite well established by this point with our cast, and
I mean, I think you can tell that I'm like, so I want to say this without sounding like I'm having a dig, but like I think you can tell I'm a few years younger than Elliot. No, only because of this. Obviously, he is a youthful-looking man, but only because the difference in like he had this kind of intellectual thought process on. I'm going, cool, Wolf's and more stuff because I was a kid at the time, still, relatively teenager, early 20s, something like this. But I must admit, the only thought I did have, my main worry was that he was going to do this and then he wouldn't be in the movies, which thankfully they kind of still included him, even though in some of them they like my favorite one was because usually they have to have a scene where it's like, Wolf, what are you doing here? And it's like, oh, look, it's Defiant. It's come into this battle. Cool. We'll beam up the survivors. All this kind of thing, which was great. And in the third one, or the final one, I think it was, when Picard just goes, Wolf, you son of a gun, what are you doing here? And then it cuts away to someone else before he can say
Insurrection, they just could not be bothered.
So sorry, we'll just imagine that they came up with something. Yeah. I think the fourth one he just shows up, doesn't he? Oh, he's there at
the
the
third
wedding.
one, it was sort of like he was getting a lift between one star base and another star base.
Yeah, it didn't.
So we were on his route.
And then Nemesis, it didn't matter because DS9 had finished. So
Plus, he was invited to a wedding.
Yeah, so we let that.
Although he had left Starfleet by the end of DS9. Yeah, they had him in dress uniform.
Didn't
and I get the feeling for Picard they're going to kind of gloss over that because I think in the pictures which we've seen so far, you can just make out he's in the uniform.
Yeah, I think there was a deleted scene in Nemesis where he said, I didn't get on very well with diplomacy, or so they waved away.
That bloody pet tug was always at my ankles.
So the way I felt about it, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Elliot's point of view, I think. I remember, because I was really into Deep Space Nine. Like, even in the early seasons, I absolutely loved it. It was like, it was my Star Trek show, and I felt this connection with it. And then all of a sudden it was bringing Worf in, and my worry was it's going to become the Worf show. And, you know, it's no secret that DS9 did not do as well in the ratings and things like that at the time. So this was mandated by the network that you've got to bring in a TNG character.
Yeah, and they left it open, though, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they let them choose, but they also said you've got to make the Klingons the big villains. So,
so they paint them into a corner.
So my worry was, is it just going to become the Worf show, and is it going to overshadow the DS9 characters? But it's a testament to how good the writers were on DS9 that he just feels like he belongs there, and he doesn't overshadow everyone else. And they didn't replace Odo as head of security. They found something else for him to do. And it didn't take long for me to just accept it the way it was. But I was a tiny bit cynical at the time, but thankfully I was proven wrong. The other thing as well was, like, this was pretty much a relaunch for DS9. Like, the money they threw into this two-parter.
Well,
it does read like a pilot.
Most expensive TV episode of anything ever made at the time.
Yeah, the money that they put in was pilot money, which you don't do when a show's 4 seasons in.
Yeah.
And other than bringing in Worf, they made other changes, like the title sequence. They zhuzhed it up. And there's some weird things in the title sequence, because it's DS9, I think, is the only one where it's completely alphabetical, which is luck, because Avery Brooks happens to be... Oh, no, because there'd be René Auberjonois, wouldn't there? So you get Avery Brooks first, then the rest of the cast is done alphabetically. And this was the year that your mate Squee, Alexander Siddig, changed his stage name, and he was Siddig El-Fadil, which is an E, and he went to Alexander Siddig, which is an S. So it's one of the only times in TV history that an actor has willingly moved themselves down the credits.
I mean, you call them all these names. I just call him Sid, but that's just us when we're hanging out.
Well, that's exactly. I didn't want to presume and call him Sid, but I know to you he's Sid. And if it had been Sid from the start, it wouldn't have had to move. But
just to tee off on a few things you've said there. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, all through this, it feels like a pilot. And you'll actually notice there's even scenes for the existing cast where they reset who they are, where, like, everything that Quark does seems more Quarky than ever.
Yeah.
You've got the scenes where kind of, like, you've got between Dax and Kira, like, there's that scene when they're on holodeck where they really kind of project what their characters are. Bashir seems to come onto his own more here. I think this is the start of him becoming a bit more cool, a bit less, like, don't get me wrong, obviously, we're not going to have a problem with the dorky character. We know we know our own, but it's like his character, I think, was made a bit over silly early on, and it really started to solidify here. So it's almost like this was, like, Series 3 did a lot of the groundwork leading into this, but this were all homogenized. And it's like, like you say, no matter what I thought going into this, when I saw Worf on this and saw what they did to him, how they wrote him into the Klingon storyline, it was brilliant. You knew it was just going to work after this.
Yeah. Well, and one of the most significant changes, we finally get Sisko looking like Sisko, by which I mean looking like Avery Brooks. And
he even goes to Cassidy, do you like it?
But this is it. But it's like,
what did you mean the war criminal Castor Yates? Sorry,
that's the one. But it's like suddenly he's comfortable in his own skin, and it comes across in Brooks's performance. I think
I've never thought about that.
Character, and I thought Avery Brooks was great in the first 3 seasons, but there was always something. And it does fit in with the character's development, because he's now 4 years removed from losing his wife, and he's got comfortable on the station. So it makes sense as a character growth thing. But the change, you just feel it. You're like, he's here now. This is it.
Yeah.
This is
also, again, add to that, it's like he, up until then, he has been the sort of archetype of the captain we've expected thus far from Star Trek, even though he's commander. Don't get me started. But he, like, in this series is where you really see him come into his own as a badass. And it's like he still has those qualities of a Starfleet captain in the round. There's one episode where he, the whole purpose of it is that he breaks that. But apart from that, really he does keep that Star Trek captain side, but with that real edge he's kind of like, which he's got as an actor, which he didn't get to explore before.
Yeah, it is a reformatting and a very successful one, but
like
it does feel
one of
organic.
the fun things about this, like you're asking what we thought when we heard the news of Worf, there was also lots of false rumors going around at the time, because it wasn't like today where if something's coming out, you'll get leaked shots from the shoot and all that all over social media. What you got was what was in magazines or middle of newspapers. And there was all sorts like, the Klingons are going to be in it. But there was like, there's going to be a second station built with the Klingons next to it. And all this was going round.
I actually downloaded a trailer for this using a dial-up connection from the whatever the network was at the time website. And it took about 4 hours to download this like 30-second trailer, but I still remember how exciting it was. It was like, it said something like, after decades of peace, now there will be war. The Klingons are back. And
I remember it, if you used to want a song downloading, if your mate was sniding it for you, you used to go, all right, so, come round tomorrow and I'll have it burnt onto a CD.
Yeah.
Thing to
Napster.
Yeah.
It was quicker to actually go to a shop and buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Can I just made me remember one thing, when you were talking about the magazines, because I remember, I used to get them every week. There used to be a collection of them, whatever ones I could afford with my pocket money when I was really young. And I remember once I bought this one, which had Gillian Anderson on the cover, because X-Files was huge about this time as well.
She was on the cover of every...
No. This was definitely SFX, because I'll tell you why. Because it was her, because Gillian Anderson was not afraid to do a glamour shot or two at the time. And they had her, one of those kind of glamour shots on the cover. Nothing to do with the X-Files. I think she was just kissing a pendant which says X-Files on it in this scantily clad outfit. And her, as they were wont to do, they'd have the kind of like SFX logo kind of coming in and out behind the person. And my dad saw the magazine I just bought. He goes, Ian, what's this? And I go, what's the sci-fi magazine? It's SFX. And he goes, oh! And I looked on it and her head was covering the bottom of the F. And my dad thought it was sex magazine. It's like, no.
Absolutely did that on purpose, did SFX. And it probably drove their sales up like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Now, both my dad and I could have very easily gone very red, but luckily he started laughing fast. So I was like, it's okay.
Okay. Like, yeah. I mean,
sorry, anyway,
we all did have those magazines as well. You know what I mean?
Look, the SFX would have sufficed if there was a nice enough picture of Gillian Anderson on it. That's all I'm saying.
And I remember my mate Andy, he actually bought Gillian Anderson's film The Turning, which anyone...
I mean, what film?
See, you know what it is, and you know why
what you're talking about.
But yeah, he was the only one who actually spent the money to acquire a copy of that film.
Although, how many times did you have to pause it before you could see it? I mean, I don't know this film. I don't know why you can badger me about it.
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, it was. I think it was oversold. What to expect from that film? Anyway,
yeah, and freeze frame just wasn't up to the task back then. That's all.
No, not on a VHS. Anyway, moving on then. Let's talk about Way of the Warriors. So, start off with a really cool action sequence, and we're looking for a changeling, but it's actually Odo, and Bashia's the one who gets caught.
Well, don't you think Cisco and Kira come off really bad in this? When they go into the room, and like you see them go into the first room, and straight away they sweep it with the phaser rifles, which is what they're meant to do. Then they walk into the room where Odo is.
Mm-hmm.
It changes from being the chair into whatever to escape, and they just stand there.
You go, whoa!
Yeah,
reaction shot.
the first room, they go through this whole performance of him like counting down and go, go, go. And then second room, they just open the door and stroll in.
And I bet that was a studio note. I bet, like in the original script, they have them checking behind each door, and it's like, no, just show that once. Come on, the audience.
Yeah, we haven't
bored.
got time. We've only got 90 minutes. Come on.
And also, why are they checking the guest quarters first? Like, get security, like, fuck around the promenade and around the security areas.
A good 3 hours into the search.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's very close to the end of the search.
Like force fields? Why aren't force fields up everywhere? Come on, I'm just saying.
Put a shield up.
Yeah, once you've confirmed the promenade is safe, that's the bit you lock down. All the high security areas and the big civilian areas, they're the ones you lock down first.
Start from the docking ring and work inwards, and then you're funneling it into one place. See, we could have had this sorted out, lads,
Yeah.
But no, it's good fun, and it's good when Quark's like, well, if you told me how long it might take next time,
we could make some money.
And doesn't O'Brien, when he comes up to him, going, bang, bang, you're dead, or something?
Yeah, he says, bang, you're dead.
That's brilliant. That's because that's the game you played as a kid. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah,
again,
but so's Bashir.
Right into all his Second World War things and spy movies and all that. So it will be using proper guns.
Oh, I mean, geez, it's quite famously said that when he said it himself, Ewan McGregor, when he was first doing Star Wars, when he was doing the lightsaber, they had to come up to him and go, look, you're doing great, really loving it so far, but could you not make the noise when you're doing the lightsaber? We'll put that on in post. Because he was like, zoom, 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 because you can't help it.
And Brian Blessed in Flash Gordon did the same thing, didn't he? Ran around going, boom, 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 boom.
So of course, the first thing you're going to do if you're playing this war game and you get up to Odo, you go, bang, bang, you're dead. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not even mocking. I love it. It's so much.
And you mentioned her earlier on, Mackie, Traitor, Cassidy Yates, but the way it's shown, like last time we saw them, they were going on a first date. I think we've met Cassidy once here, but this episode is giving the audience credit to go, this is where they're at now. Like they are now very much a couple, and you have to fill in the blanks there. This has happened in between, and it's the first sort of time really they've done an ongoing relationship in Star Trek, and I really like the way, even beyond this episode, I think Sisko and Cassidy's relationship is handled really, really well. And particularly, we will cover them eventually, but when it does come out that she's actually with the Maquis, and in any other show, that'd have been the end of the relationship, done. But DS9 goes, no, these are adults, they care for each other.
Yeah.
They're going to give it a go when she comes back,
and I also want to add, I mean, obviously it's jumping ahead a little bit, but watching the episode this time, I noticed several things where she's fishing for information, which I think they put in purposely, but I never noticed them before this rewatch.
No, I didn't. I think when you're watching it to do a podcast like this, you're watching it that much more closely, and you do pick up on stuff.
It's great, and I think having this complexity in a Star Trek relationship is kind of the antecedents to what we see in Strange New Worlds, where they can have a kind of casual relationship. They have sex every now and again when they meet up because they're adults and they can do that. And that's just, I don't think you get there without kind of shows like this doing it first.
Now, the Strange New Worlds link is interesting because did either of you catch where Cassidy's brother lives and plays baseball?
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, I didn't. Sorry. There was, because they mentioned the Colonel Monastery, I noticed.
Where it is.
It's Cestus 3, which was the outpost that was destroyed at the start of Arena. So obviously, in the 100 years since, they've either come to peace with the Gorn or recolonized or whatever. But
because one thing which
that Cestus 3 pulled through.
Another Strange New Worlds link. Well, obviously this came so much before it, but Worf mentions a monastery that he'd been to, which is the same one which they go to, which again never picked up on that before. When I heard the monastery in Discovery, I thought it was a new thing, and then I
knew it was where Worf had been. But if you notice specifically what he says something about the monks were very insightful, and knowing what we know now,
Yeah.
we have to go, wait a minute, have they shown Worf a vision of his future while he's
The
been
told
there?
Worf things to do.
Yeah,
they show him when he's on the bridge of the Enterprise and he's having an argument with Riker over Troy, and so he ends the relationship. That's what really happened.
That's why he packed Troy in, because we don't get an answer to that. Apparently, there was a
that would fit as well.
It would, but yeah, apparently there was a deleted scene where O'Brien was going to say something like, "I'm sorry it didn't work out with you and Councillor Troy," but instead we just do not acknowledge it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if you do want the full story of that, check out Peter David's novel Imzadi 2: Triangle, which is a fantastic novel. And Thomas Riker comes back in it, Seela comes back in it. It's a cracking
and it's
novel.
worth listening to the first one as well, just because it's a great book. They're
one of my favourite books ever.
I think that's probably the better one, but 2 is still amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about Cassidy. Yeah, she's very curious about the changes to the station.
Yeah.
And at the time, you read it as, oh, she wants to know if they'll be safe from the Dominion. But you actually think, right, she's worried that they're doing something to catch the Maquis, not to
also,
do
you can see this is a hint to pre-Dominion War Cisco. He's so trusting in everything.
Yeah.
And it kind of informs who he becomes. So this is a lovely step as well. Because, of course, the Starfleet captain would be completely trusting of their partner. There's no reason not to be. Starfleet's been at peace for so many years. So it even works on that level.
And then we get one of the great DS9 recurring characters, General Martok's first appearance. And I do get the sense that
really General Martok, because we find out later.
Well, is it or isn't it? It could be. He might have been replaced after this because he does do the blood thing.
Yeah.
But then, as we know, changelings can fake that.
Hey, if I was a changeling, I'd suck up all the blood I could from the first person I met. Just me speaking from my head. But...
In a fortnight, we'll talk about that. So yeah, Martok, I get the sense with this, as with many DS9 characters, this was probably meant to be a one-shot appearance, and they were like, you know what, that guy's great, so we're going to have a lot more.
Do you think so, though? Because we're quite early on in the start of the series at this stage. Like, I feel like they've got to have had a few of his episodes planned, haven't they, at this stage? Because they would have so many scripts.
I don't think we see him again until the season 5 premiere. So,
is it that long until we see him again?
Feeling, yeah, because that's when we find out that he's a changeling. And
yeah, but he's been a changeling for a long time. I thought that when we get to in Purgatory Shadow and all that we find out that even. That he's been there that long, that even with the Warrior.
Yeah, I know it could well be. I just
explain certain things in this episode as well.
Yeah, it would do. I just like the idea of speculating on it. Was he a changeling here? Wasn't he?
I think he was a changeling already here.
I think you could well be right.
And there's quite a few sort of pointers to him being changed. That it isn't actually Martok.
So can I also throw in something here, just while we're talking about Martok, because he's the first Klingon I think we see in this episode, or the first kind of main Klingon, shall we say?
Yeah.
Man, I suddenly realized watching this episode how much the Klingons gave us in amazing performances in Deep Space Nine. I think this was a real heyday. Like they did it in Next Generation pretty well as well, but like this was a real heyday for character actors coming in. And a lot of them, some of which were in the original series, a lot of these had been Shakespearean trained, and that all comes out. So they've got this kind of warring thing, but the kind of like long, wistful kind of talks about battles old and all this. They are just so good. And there's so many different types as well. So you've got like Martok's the out and out warrior. Gowron is just chewing the scenery in an amazing way. Like he's such an amazing out there actor. It's just, oh God, it was so good. It just made me think of all the great performances.
I think a lot of it as well is that around this time, Ronald D. Moore joined the writing staff, and he was the go-to Klingon guy in Next Gen. And he does a lot of the big Klingon episodes this time. So I think he's your guy for Klingons.
I just think this might have been the best period for Klingon acting. Actually, I think you're right. I think on the Klingon episodes, in the Next Generation, the casting was top notch as well. I just think this was such a good time for Klingons to be written for well and acted superbly. The performances.
like the Next Gen had started a lot of building up
Mm.
sort of the cultural background of the Klingons, but DS9 just took that and ran with it. And
Yeah, I mean, Gowron had been in Next Gen a few times, and he'd already been reintroduced in DS9 in the House of Quark, which was a comedy episode. But then it's like, right, let's bring him in for something serious now.
yeah, it's like when you look at it, there's a lot of these recurring characters in a lot of shows would be down almost as main cast members in that many episodes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, and I'm allowed to say this as my mother's Irish. I just like to point that out every time I'm going to make an Irish stereotype. But I would say Gowron is almost Irish in the way he can flip on a penny between angry and joyful. Like the way he can go from like 1 minute going, you made many enemies. I assure you, I'm not one of them. His head goes like a bobblehead for a minute. And the next minute he's going, oh, you won't go with me? Plague on your house then. I hate you. You're the worst anyone ever.
I mean, of course, the Gowron eyes have become a meme, but...
but the performance, the eyes are just the start of it. Everything he does is as mad as his eyes in the best
I remember
way.
I went to the first ever Star Trek convention I went to, and it was just before. It was in between season 3 and 4 of DS9, and Robert O'Reilly. So there's your Irish connection.
I did think that.
He was sort of the guest of honor, and everyone was asking him, like, is it true that you're going to be in the next episode of DS9? And he wasn't allowed to say at the time. But the first thing he did was he comes on stage and he goes, does anyone want to see some Gowron eyes? And he just did the eye.
So do his eyes not naturally sit that bold?
No, he has to do it. But he can do it on cue.
Well, so. I just wasn't sure if it's an acting choice or if he just does have prominent eyes. It's like the most ironic thing in Star Trek is that if you see LeVar Burton without the visor, his eyes are actually really huge, and he's the one who ends up behind the visor.
What was weird about it is, like, I was quite young when I went to this one, so my mum and Elliot's dad had taken me, and they were like, look, well, we'll just go for a pint in the pub down thing, and when you're done at the convention, come and find us. And they went to the pub, so I'm at this convention. Robert O'Reilly goes into the pub and sits down, and so they're having a chat with Robert O'Reilly, and I'm like, I wish I'd gone to the pub instead of amateur. But
and there was no taking a selfie on your camera for showing you when you got out.
No, there was none of that at the time. Man, my mum and Elliot's dad wouldn't know how to take a selfie on the camera, even if they had a smartphone at the time, so don't worry about that. The blood test then.
His cloaking device.
Yeah, not squeezing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it triggers without warning.
Never mind. Well, you're not allowed to use it in the Alpha Quadrant unless you're sneaking up on Klingons. The blood test. I just wanted to pull this out. Like, I get that Martok's like, right, I'm going to do it. That's a very Klingon thing. Like, I'm going to cut myself with a knife. But Sisko and Kira don't have to do it. You know, they could be like, look, I'll do a blood test, but I'm doing it with a hypo, not. And also, can we clean that blade in between? You know, I
think there's also the thing that you sort of like got to behave in front of the Klingons and all that.
Yeah, you've got to sort of match their honor, haven't you? It might have caused more of an incident if they hadn't done it. But I'm not being funny, but I don't want to cut my hand with something that Martok's been using to cut his hand. Like, I don't know where Martok's hands have been. You know, I just don't want any Klingon blood diseases. Is all. I think
that they're probably going to see Dr. Bashir straight away. Quick, give us a quick thing of the hyper spray.
Yeah, we want to be inoculated against any Klingon diseases. Thank you.
To be honest with you, I'm more concerned about where Dr. Bashir's hands have been. You know what a arch ladies' man he was at the time.
Very well. He fancied himself as a ladies' man, but I don't think he actually.
No, they had him getting lucky all the time with random people we didn't know. It's just if he really wanted someone like Dax, then he had no hope.
Yeah.
How far back does it go that we haven't got Bashir in the show, really?
That's tricky. Season 5, because it's really clever, because we know that it's before the uniforms changed.
Yeah.
And we will get to it, but it means that a changeling did brain surgery on Captain Sisko.
Yeah.
But, We'll get there eventually. So there's always stuff with the Klingons, like the harassing Morn, the beating Garak up. I love how Garak says, yeah, but I did get off some cutting remarks.
Oh, peak Garak.
And
Now,
that
it was
will-
it just me who in this moment thought it's like, you know, that Section 31 show, which they're still saying is going to happen. Garak?
Oh, can you imagine how good
Yeah.
that would be? I mean,
Garak playing against Giorgio as well.
Oh, yes, that would be. Yeah, sign me up for that anytime. And you know what? I think Andrew Robinson would be up for it because he really loved playing Garak.
You can tell. You can tell. He's so good. No one could have that much suggestion to everything he said of something insidious.
Yeah. I remember I saw him at a convention as well, and because I've read his book that he wrote and everything, and
It's the autobiography of Garak.
Stitch in Time.
That is a brilliant book.
It is a
If
great
you haven't read that, that is so worth reading.
Yeah. But he said he would write another one, but only if they did a DS9 movie. So there you go, Paramount. Make it happen.
Make it so, you might say.
Interestingly, they've I saw on his Twitter or something. They've finally done a deal to get an audiobook version of that novel that he wrote, read by him in character as Garak, telling Garak's life story. So
that'll be amazing.
That's definitely worth looking.
Hell yeah.
It's out of print at the minute, is the novel.
Right.
But hopefully it will mean that the book will be reissued and hopefully a Kindle version or e-read, whatever. But the audio version read by Andrew Robinson as Garak, yes.
Yes, please. No, he is so good in this episode as well. Like, it's just he gets just enough scenes to really go into it a little bit. And you know, I like to think that after he didn't report this crime, it's because he wanted to get these people killed himself.
I'm sure he had a plan. Yeah, some of these Klingons would have made it off the
or psychologically tortured for the
out.
rest of their lives because death would be too quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, it all comes to a head, and Cisco realizes that only Klingons can deal with Klingons. And then we get Worf's arrival, and he turns up in TNG attire, which is great.
I do like how Quark goes to O'Brien and Bashir in the bar and all that. Do you notice anything's wrong? And Quark knows something is up here.
Yeah, it's too quiet.
When he goes, it's quiet. He goes, it's. I like how he tells you exactly how many decibels it is.
Yeah.
That he can tell that it's 30 decibels. On a normal day, it's 65. When Klingons are in it, it's 85. This isn't right. And look at them. They're looking for targets.
Yeah.
They're scoping the room.
And that shows, you know, Quark's a very good observer of behavior, you know.
Yeah. And one thing I would do want to, if we're on Worf's entrance, not like that, people, but when they kind of pan up from his shoes, the only thing I could think of is like, when are we going to get those natty trousers which go apart either side of the shoes? I like those. Very practical.
Yeah. Maybe they
The reason why
couldn't find a TNG bottom, so he had to wear a DS9 bottom with a TNG top, maybe. I don't know.
I approve. I'm just saying, like, I have to buy trousers which either do the Simon Cowell, which kind of right up halfway through your legs, or you end up tripping on them. I need those.
It's true. I'm sure you can get them. I'm sure there's new places. And then, yeah, we get this little sort of through line with Worf that he's thinking about leaving Starfleet. So we talk about the Enterprise getting destroyed. So we're placing this after Generations. And Worf's having a bit of a dilemma and everything. And I like the way they use that to establish a relationship between Cisco and Worf straight away. Like, Cisco takes on this almost mentoring role right off the bat with him.
I nearly left Starfleet as well. And
yeah,
that's a wonderful parallel.
Actually, going forward to the rest of season 4, I love that because Cisco's getting Worf on the command track, there's loads of episodes where it's just Cisco bollocking Worf. And it's really funny.
You know, the only thing which really annoyed me about that, the only thing which really annoyed me is when they got to the thing of they made it kind of tried to do basically a joke of it, saying that Worf was intimidated by him. I didn't like that. I never took to that. Like, Worf isn't intimidated. He has respect for people, but just intimidate seemed like an insult to the character for a cheap joke.
It is a funny scene though. Cisco finds it hilarious.
I know. I don't know. It just makes me cringe every time they say that bit, because it's like it dispowers the character in a way. And like, if he was going to get intimidated, I think he would be equally as intimidated by Picard, because he has storing down and stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't think he is. I don't think he's intimidated. He has respect for these people.
It's probably not the right word. But I think he views them as warriors, and he views the captains as superior warriors to him, and so there is a bit of a hierarchical thing.
I think the thing is, there's also a mix of that, because there's a mix of the Klingon side of him, which admires them as warriors and tacticians mainly. I think, especially with Cisco, Picard's more tactical on that side of things. And on a human side, I think he has respect for them as kind of just clever people, like people who know stuff. And I think he does respect that, having been raised by humans. So it works on so many levels. To say he's intimidated, just as I say, it seemed like a cheap shot, basically.
It may not be quite the right word. I've never thought of it that way before. But
I don't know. It just got me every time, because I think you're right. I think the way they set up the relationship is so good that it makes me think of that moment, because it annoyed me so much. But maybe it's just me then.
And speaking of relationships, then we get his first meeting with Dax, which, again,
straight away,
it's just great with DS9, the fact that we've already established that Dax has a history with Klingons, so naturally there's going to be some connection between them. And yeah, it's just great. And it's funny that Kira, who is probably closest to Worf in terms of a mentality, as a warrior and all this. And it's funny that when she meets Worf, she's dressed as Guinevere or whatever it is.
Yeah, she's the one who's really embarrassed about being seen like that.
Yeah.
And I like how he's there. Nice hat.
Yeah,
because she's another one who they kind of establish the character of. It's very subtly done. I like that, but they have her saying, it's like, sorry, I never had time for an imagination during the war and everything, so she kind of really points out that the reason why she can be so cynical is because of that. She gets a bit embarrassed in front of Worf because she doesn't like dressing up like this. Wolf gets these moments with every crew member in this episode, and each works perfectly to what their relationship is going to be. With Quark, it's antagonistic, and Quark's trying to pull a fast one, but as soon as he sees Worf doing that face to him, he fucking cowers. You've got O'Brien, his old friend. Bashir and him have a good kind of jovial relationship, really. Everything is set out in this episode so well, and it's so economical, where it's just a scene with each of them, but it's enough. And in a way which I don't think they sort of fully did with 709 in Voyager, and quite as well to begin with.
And it works functionally as this is an attempt by the network to get eyes on DS9, and they're obviously anticipating a lot of new viewers watching this.
Yeah.
So Worf is acting kind of as an audience surrogate. We know Worf from TNG. They were hoping to get the TNG fans, basically.
Yes.
Who've not already started watching DS9. So you come in, you're a TNG fan. I know Worf. Oh, now Worf's introduced me to Cisco. Now Worf's introduced me to Kira. So it's very... Yeah, it's very clever, multi-layered writing to be doing all the jobs that it's doing. And
I like this first part where with Dax as well, and when they first meet, when he goes off to fight Martok's son, and she's already impressed with him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's good, and there's sort of like, well, when you know where this goes, you can see where her interest really is.
Also, there's some sort of like, I think it's that thing of a man and woman fighting. Traditionally in shows can lead to sexual tension and stuff, and this is very evident in this. Like, there's definitely there is that tension right from the get-go. I don't know if they always plan for them to get together, but certainly in this episode and every scene with them which goes afterwards, it's always there. And I think it's just their natural chemistry. I think it's just the way it went, and I think they then picked up on it to write it in, guessing from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I would guess so. And the Worf's investigation's quite good. Like, he starts off by beating someone up, and then he has to take more of a diplomatic approach to getting drunk with this other guy. I love the bit where the guy sort of says, "Have I ever told you about the Battle of What? Yes, many times."
But you tell it well.
He has to backtrack a bit. It's like, oh, but it's a good story. Because the way he says it, he goes, "It is a good story." Like,
you tell it well.
I like to think that Klingons at heart have a respect for even a warrior who's got old in the tooth, who just sits around telling stories in a bar. I think they've got respect for what they used to be, and they will always be the honored elder. Like, they know if they challenge them, they could beat them down in a minute, but that's not honorable. And that's why it's all these kind of textures and layers that they add to the Klingon mythos, which are really well shown here. And again, another great performance. That guy who's playing the older Klingon is amazing. He's just so characterful.
No, it's really good. And this leads Worf to meet Odo. And again, that's really good. It establishes Odo's estranged from his people. He's had to choose between them.
Yeah.
And he relates that to Worf. And again, we'll develop Odo and Worf later, how they'll sort of butt heads over security and things like that. But within this episode, it's a great introductory scene. And again, it nudges Worf's arc a little bit further, but it also reintroduces Odo to us and everything. So, yeah.
It also shows how, I think it's very hard for Odo to open up. And to begin with, he's quite gruff with Worf. Then you see him kind of just opening up. It's almost like, oh, and Mr. Worf. And then he comes over to him to talk to him so he doesn't get everyone else hearing. And he goes look, I understand what it can be like to be torn between your people and your duty. And Worf's a dick about it. So he's just like, but if you want to be a dick about it, I could just report you to Cisco if you want.
Yeah.
It's lovely, and I feel like that again. That does set the table for their relationship. Like you say, it's like they do bicker over security matters, but at the end of the day, they're quite similar, really, at heart, and that's what develops a lasting friendship.
Worf's been given a job by Cisco to find out what's going on, to investigate it. And because Odo can't investigate that, he decides to investigate Worf, what he's doing to find out.
I didn't think about it that way, but
Odo's got his own ways of finding out what's going on.
Yeah, Odo doesn't like stuff going on that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's not at the heart of.
I just love the fact that Worf as well. Worf is a security expert. He spent years as security chief. So he would have encrypted the hell out of his transmission. And Odo's just I know exactly who you called and when. That's how good I am, bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's you, and you made so many calls, but then after that happened, you didn't make any more.
It was so-and-so. You
can just hear.
Stopped.
You can hear Worf's blood boiling at the fact that he's out security'd him.
Yeah, and it's great how they set up the dilemma in it. So we think the Klingons think Cardassia has been compromised by the Dominion, and that's great as well. That you get this mandate from the network. You've got to bring the Klingons in, but instead of dropping everything that they already had in play, they go, okay, how do we link that to what we're doing with the Dominion? How do we make this a bigger story rather than resetting what we're doing? And you've got to admire them for sticking to the guns on that. And it works so well. We get a Klingon war in the middle of a Dominion war, and it all works.
It's just a war show.
Yeah.
Well, it's that threat of them fighting a war on two different fronts when they can at least afford to, which is really exciting, because it's like, if the Dominion really decide to invade at that stage, they would all been screwed.
Yeah, they would have been. And I love, obviously, the way they leak the information to the Cardassians. Let's get Garak to come and measure a suit while we talk about it. Just brilliant. And I think
I've lost a bit of weight. I think I've got everything I need. Thank you.
Well,
how comfortable Worf is.
When the Klingons leave is one of my things where I think Martok is possibly already a changeling.
Yeah.
Because Cisco confronts him about what they're about to do. And he goes, this isn't the way to do it. It could cause all sorts of problems. He goes, right, I will consult with Gowron. You'll have your answer within an hour. And he beams off and he gives one order, begin.
Yeah.
Immediately, there's no attempt to contact Gowron.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Worf, obviously, and we get a lot more of this with Odo when they butt heads over security, but in that Garak scene, Worf is clearly uncomfortable with this plan.
Yeah.
Like, he delivers his lines, but he's like, I don't like doing this. And that shows the contrast between this isn't how you'd have done it on the Enterprise, but we're not on the Enterprise. This is how we do things.
This is how you do things on DS9.
And
But you've also, but let's not forget, there has also been a massive Klingon-Cardassian war, sort of within the last 19, 20 years.
No, exactly.
There was a
I
huge
also think
war, so there's probably animosity between the two races, whatever.
I also felt a suggestion, and I think this is how well they kind of staged everything. When Garak walks in, it's almost like they had it prepared. It's like, right, when he walks in, Dax, you start talking, resetting
definitely.
the conversations we've had so far. Because they're not like going to pretend to have that conversation while they're waiting for him. She's going to have been waiting, going, it's like, so as we were saying.
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely that. And like,
it's
Worf,
lovely.
you can see on Worf's face that it's like, right, this is your line, Worf. This is where you have to say that. And he's like, it's almost like he's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Right, yes.
Right, I don't want to do this.
So it's just
right,
great.
I made an oath to Starfleet, and I'm wearing the uniform. I've got to. This is honourable.
Yeah.
and it almost did, but it's like, it didn't go so far as to, to go, it's like, Garak, did you catch all that? It's like, it's also, it's certainly enough played, but it's enough that you know
I
that
think
they've
I've lost
been
a bit
waiting
of weight. You
silence.
need to take. Do you want to measure my waist? No, it's okay. I've got enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I got
I
everything
always
I
like
need.
the idea that Cisco actually did want a new uniform as well. And so he's actually pissed off. Like, no, you will measure my waist, Garak. Come on.
Yeah. What? Cisco comes down to the tailor shop later. Goes, Garak, everything work out earlier? Yeah, I did. Yeah, thank you, Captain.
How long for my suit?
And he goes, by the way, I wasn't lying. I have lost a bit of weight. I've been working hard now. I just want to make sure everyone knew that wasn't part of the ruse.
Yeah. And then obviously we get the Klingons pulling out of the Khitomer Accords, which is a bit weird because the Khitomer Accords are what we know were signed in Star Trek 6. But that just must be the name for the peace treaties with the Klingons, because we know that conflicts broke out after that with the Enterprise C and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then they've obviously re-signed it. So it's not, because Bashir says, it's 20 years since we had any problems with the Klingons. So, yeah, the Khitomer Accords cover a lot of things.
I think it's like you can have amendments to agreements. So I like to think it's just an amendment, because it's like, or like this, like they re-signed the same accords.
I think
maybe
so.
previously
They
they fell out and they re-signed it.
Yeah, they do that again in season 5. So yeah.
But I must say, when they do, when he does announce, like when Cisco comes on and announce the Khitomer Accords have been null and void or whatever, I do get goosebumps in that moment. I think, because like, it's one of those things. Anyone else watching it's just, okay, they're at war with the Klingons. With us, we know the moment from Star Trek 6 when they signed them. We know how big this is. Like, after them being the main threat, or okay, they're only in a handful of episodes, but they're remembered as the main threat from the original series.
Yeah.
And then we've had a show all about them being at a peace, albeit a sometimes uneasy one. Now that piece has gone after like 80 years. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's kind of like there's a famous commentator on American wrestling, Jim Ross, or good old JR.
Yeah, I remember him.
One of his catchphrases, like, if Stone Cold Steve Austin turned up or something like that, he'd always say, well, business is about to pick up. And it's like, the Klingons have come out of the Khitomer Accords. Business is about to pick up. You mean...
like we get Garak as well, don't we? And he starts telling. He gets through to the cat. Is this the first time that the cat is changing sides? Of the many times he changes sides?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because previously he just gets demoted, really.
Yeah, well, the cat by the end of this is running the Cardassian government as good as.
Yeah, well, he's sort of like massively influencing the council, isn't it?
And I just love that thing when, like, on the transmission, he's being so serious, like, well, as a loyal citizen of the military of Cardassia, I follow whatever legitimate government. And then Cisco goes, you saw which way the wind was blowing, you decided to switch sides.
No, that was
seemed like a good idea at the time. I love that line. It's just, well, it's like you've got you see, he's got his officer in the background, so it means he's got to trust that officer
Yeah.
so implicitly. But it's just a nice little wink to the camera of like, seemed like a good idea at the time. He drops some pretense for a moment. I just like that because there was the reason why I think Descartes became so so pivotal to this show and so good to do so many things was there was always that thing of him being Hitler effectively, but wanting to be the White Knight. You know, he wanted to be better than that. And it, like, even though he would never sacrifice doing all the dodgy shit he did, he was always trying to chat up Kira and kind of win her back over, trying to persuade her that the occupation wasn't so bad. In this moment, he's trying to charm Cisco. And you needed that charm, I feel, to make him a bit more of a character. To not just know that he would always do the evil thing. But it's like you need to just believe he could do something good for him to be such a good villain.
Yeah.
His season 4 arc, you do start to like him and trust him, and you want him to be redeemed, but then he throws all that away.
Well, apparently it was only because Kira, Nana Visitor, she kicked up a fuss because I forget his name. Sorry, the Descartes actor. He wanted to go for the kind of like love thing between them, and he was always voting for it. And she goes, "No, he's Hitler. Kira isn't going to go out with Hitler, like someone who's killed all these people." And thank God that she did that, because again, I think he needed to be playing like he was trying for it, but she needs to to shut it down to go. But no, remember, he's still a mass murderer.
Yeah, she has her moments where she tolerates him, but she's absolutely disgusted by Descartes all the time. Yeah. Then, end of episode 1, when they split this into 2 parts, which really shows why you should never do that. Because episode 1, when they split it, ends with Gowron saying, "Welcome, Worf, glory awaits you on Cardassia," which is hardly a cliffhanger. But
you meant to think that Worf, after all this, is going off to join the Klingons.
Exactly, but it's a good conversation between the two of them and everything. Like you said, that where he switches, like, "You have made a lot of enemies, but I am not.
I'm not one of them."
That was so well delivered. I don't know why I love that line.
Then there is a mention of Alexander very briefly, which, Worf, not the greatest dad, but at least we name check him here. He says, "Oh, he loves it so much more with my parents." Like, does he, Worf? Or do you just keep fobbing him off on them?
Well, he does so well with his parents. He rapidly ages, like twice the age he was in Next Generation within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get rid of that actor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we did. But how shit is it when he comes back? It's like, you were 10 last time we saw you 2 years ago. It's ridiculous.
But then he did grow really quickly from being born to being a toddler. So anyway, there's obviously something very weird going on there.
Klingons age quickly.
More or less from here, this episode is just all action now. Because it's, okay, Descartes' now in charge. They need to go help. There's a nice chat between Cisco and Cassidy before they go. Like, again, it just reinforces that this relationship is here to stay. It's something serious. Then Worf tells a bit of a fib, because he says, "I've never been on a Federation ship with a cloak, except when you installed that cloak on the Pegasus, from the Pegasus on the end."
Yeah.
So maybe then a traditional cloak, not a phase cloak.
Yeah, that was a phase cloak. I don't think the phase cloak counted.
So we'll let him off there a little.
Yeah, I mean, it would have ruined the moment.
And it was only to get out of the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have ruined it if he some goes like, "I've never been on a Federation cloak, apart from when it was phased as well, so that doesn't count technically."
Yeah. We'll let it go. But I mean, we get a space battle, the first space battle in this, and it's the Defiant trying to rescue Descartes. And this is so much more spectacular than anything that Star Trek on TV has ever done to this point. And it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Can I just chuck in something very quickly before we go into that? Because that's wonderful. I do also love the fact that they get Bashir saying in that moment, it's basically, for all you guys at home who are complaining about it, hey, but technically, isn't it breaking the treaty with the Romulans by using the cloak in the Alpha Quadrant? I won't tell them if you don't. Cool. We're going to move on now.
Nick
Great people at home.
gets
It's so
Yeah.
obviously talking
We've
to people at
acknowledged
home.
that we're not allowed to use the cloak
Yeah.
yet again.
Even
Yeah,
though
so
it's
enjoy
not been invented yet, don't start hashtagging us on Twitter. We've put in a line of dialogue, so away you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
But-
Yeah, no, you're right. Amazing battle, though. Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I've nothing more elaborate to say on it than that because it gets even better within this very same episode. But
well,
there
isn't
is
this the
a
moment
bit-
where it's like I mean, because you already had that moment, which was pretty cool already at the beginning of or near the beginning of the episode, where you've got a couple of Klingon ships when they say about staying there for a minute, and then all the other armada uncloaks.
Yeah.
And just that shot alone was powerful. And then to see them
Yeah.
actually going at it.
There's a nice moment where they have this thing of, well, we've got to leave that ship because there might be Klingon ships lying
Yeah,
in
we'll
wait.
come across some Cardassian debris, but we
Yeah.
can't
and-
use our scanners.
And obviously,
So-
DS9
so
will
timing.
go very dark at times, but this is one of the early examples of it where it's like, no, you're in a war, you have to make tough
Yeah.
choices. And I love how they start off, let's shoot at the engines, but then it's like, you know what, Worf, do whatever you want, and he's like,
Well,
"Whey!"
Worf goes, just shooting at the engines doesn't seem to be deterring them. Okay, fire at will. And the second later, it
Yeah.
fires like it's made from cannons, and his bird of prey just disintegrates.
Yeah. Worf's not taking any prisoners there. Neither, though, he's Bashir. When the cat beams over, he's like, I find this very offensive. I find you offensive. I love
Yes.
how there's no nonsense at this point.
And
Just
also
like,
to the point,
I'm doing it.
sorry.
Shut up, the cat. It's
also with the bit with Worf shooting the Klingon ship and blowing it up, I think that's also, we were talking about how they reset everything in this. That's resetting how the Defiant is. It's a tiny ship, but it's powerful. It's built
yeah.
for war. So that
Oh.
resets that into the plot as well.
yeah, it shows you this ship is formidable more than
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
seen in
It's a
TNG.
small ship, but like the Defiant was designed to fight the Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was its whole point, to fight the
And it's
Borg.
meant to be nippy to move quickly between places as
Yeah.
well as deliver that firepower.
There's a great scene between Quark and Garak where
Oh.
it's basically the calm before the storm. But they're sort of philosophizing really on the Federation.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
They
I
haven't-
love this
Well,
scene.
they're having this drink out there, and like Garrett walks in and goes, "A canard, please." And Quark gives him the bottle. Well, I'll probably never sell anymore now the Klingons are invading. And Garrett starts going, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The destruction of my home planet will affect your business."
But there you go, 2 points that get picked up later on in the final season. There's a lot about Garak and the loss of his homeworld. And when the Cardassians occupy the station at the start of season 6, Quark does get shut of all this canard. So
Yeah.
it's a lovely little
Can I also want to throw a thing in here. I think the thing which is really powerful about this moment, and it's played away as a bit of a comedy scene, but it's like
It's
these
the next
two
drink.
refugees on this place.
Yeah.
It reminded me really, it made me think of Casablanca, funnily enough. And it's like these two refugees in this place. It's like while all the other action of Casablanca was happening, you might have two people from other countries who've got stuck there. But you can't admit to other people about how the fact that you love the Federation. Neither of them would say that to like anyone who's a Federation person. Maybe Garak a little bit to Bashir, but that's about it. But they could admit to each other they kind of like the Federation.
But
Yeah,
that's
they
to
wouldn't
do
admit it
with
to
the
anyone else.
rugby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's vile. Yeah, it's sickly, isn't it? It's cloying. It's so sweet. But you have enough of it and you start to like it and appreciate it.
That's the thing, exactly. And it's just so it's strong words softly spoken, as the old Murphy's advert used to have it. It's that moment where, like, when I watched that previously, I've never really considered the deeper context, but like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. These are refugees, both of which could be losing their home in this war, who knows? And
Absolutely,
both
yeah.
of which are so removed from their people in one way or another. And they're having this moment of accepting it's like, yeah, we've kind of got to like the Federation, and this is kind of our home now.
it finishes on that beautiful note where it's like, well, we've said all this bad stuff. So I hope they manage to save us. You know, it's this codependent.
And they give a little smile to each other. It's just, it's so well done.
It's brilliant, and it's just great. Like to stick this in the middle of two massive action scenes. Let's just get two great actors to play a nice, quiet scene. Yeah, absolutely lovely. But then Quark's next thing is a great comedy beat as well. It's I'm defending my bar with this gun, and Rom's already taken all the parts.
Well, this is another thing though. This is sort of reintroducing Rom's not even in this episode.
No,
but this is sort of like foreshadowing things to come, and sort of reintroducing him that on the quiet, Rom is an amazing engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already
It's taken parts of a phaser to rebuild a replicator.
And they've already established that he nicks parts to keep the replicators going because Quark's such a tight ass. And I just love the fact, it's a fun little moment. I just love the fact he goes, hello, we'll defend it with this. Opens up the box face and away to him to Odo. And then Odo very theatrically takes out this note, goes and starts reading it. It's just so well played for a good laugh. As you say, just before, because we're about to have some real heavy scenes and you need that little bit of levity there.
Like this.
And in the midst of all this as well, we get let's team up Dukat and Garak. It's just, because these two, whenever they're together, are brilliant, and we know they hate each other. We don't know why, unless we've read A Stitch in Time by Anthony Robinson.
We know why.
But it's just great, just the seething hatred from it. But they are both defending their homeworld.
And they're both defending the council because they want brownie points. The cat because he wants power, and Garrett because he hopes he'll be allowed to go home.
Exactly. So just brilliant to get that in the middle of it all. But the hatred between them's still coming off, even though they're fighting side by side. It's great. And Morty and Martok is a changeling argument because they present Gowron with the evidence. Look, the council are not changelings. But by this point, his warrior's honor is, don't matter. You've attacked us, so we're having a battle. It don't matter. And Martok obviously is all up for it. And
and you even for not knowing that he's a changeling at this point, no matter what, he's already had that moment where he's presented the dagger as well, which just ramps up that tension as well.
They're stirring it. They want this fight, and the founders.
But it's so well layered in the first 45 minutes, the first episode, if you will. It should never be seen as two.
Because they've gone, there's the Romulans, the Klingons, the Federation, the Cardassians. Which one do you think will be easiest to rile up into a fight? Let's start with them, the Klingons, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lovely, lovely callback to the very first episode, because in Emissary, when the Cardassians are trying to retake the station, they do a fake thing to make it look like the station's really not tachyon fields, and
Folion shadows. They're really I can't remember the words.
I can't remember what they do, but they blag it. And in this episode, Martok goes, "No, it's a fake made with shadows and so. So he's probably read the report from when DS9 did that, or the changelings are aware of it. And Sis goes, it's no illusion. And then the station goes into battle mode, and it's just great.
And you realise how well armed this thing is. When you think of Starship, generally you'll have maybe a foot like Voyager. Give an idea. Voyager was armed with 50 photon torpedoes, 20 quantum torpedoes, and I think it was 2 tricobalt torpedoes when it left.
Yeah.
Space stock. And you watch this fire, and it goes, fire odd numbers torpedoes, and it goes, do, 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 do. But that's coming from all over the station. They're firing out.
And the way this is all staged and filmed, like the camera's constantly panning round, and we see ships flying under the station and over the station. And
like the amazing thing about this is this was models.
Yeah.
And also, can I throw another thing into the mix?
Yeah.
So they've got, it's like, right, okay. Deep Space Nine, obviously a critical juncture in the galaxy. oh god, it's the way to the Gamma Quadrant. We need to defend it. Let's send in the Defiant. Okay, Defiant's doing well. That's pretty good. But now let's arm it up to the teeth. Okay, right. Okay, Commander Sisko's about to go back. Should we make him a captain? No, Commander is fine. I don't see a problem at this stage. Still, they won't promote him.
Sadly,
I will bring this up every chance I get.
Inconvenience.
You were a bloody captain in the first episode. Why would you leave a fucking commander in charge of the most critical outpost?
He's been promoted for a good 2 episodes by this point. I don't know what you're worried about.
Has he been at this point? Or I thought
he gets promoted in the Adversary in the previous episode.
Okay. They when they're sending in these greater ornaments, they're going, oh, okay, we'll make your captain then.
That's why he gets to shave his head, because Star Trek captains have to be bald at this point. You've got Shatner, you've got Patrick Stewart.
And Janeway, that was a wig this whole time.
There you go.
Are you trying to suggest that Shatner's bald?
Absolutely not. Please don't at us, Bill. There's a bit where they start talking in Klingon, and we don't get a translation, but it's all right. I've translated it for you, because Gowron and Martok have this Klingon. So what I think the translation is, fire the big green shit, because the next thing that happens is they fire all this big green shit at Ops. So I think that must have been the order that he was giving there.
Fire green shit. I love it.
And it's also worth pointing out, this is the first time we see the new Klingon command ships in real time. Because we saw them in All Good Things.
Yeah, the Voyager class.
The Voyager class, but now we see
notice, like, this is done with models, so if you notice, we get there's loads of D7s there, which are TOS series ships.
Yeah.
But that was the model kit that was available.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's when they go, it's like...
It's nearly all Birds of Prey, D7s, and we've got some Voyager classes. And I know you can get the Voyager class model as well. And that's what we had. You had what Klingon models can we get? Oh, we can get all these Birds of Prey. Oh, we can get all these D7s.
Because they made an announcement as well when they said it's like, that's new head of the Klingon fleet. And you look at it, it's like, oh, it's the same as the other ships. It's like, the way they announced it, I think it was the other way around. You wanted them to be announcing it because it was going to look different, a bit beefier or anything. But they're announcing it so you could tell that that's actually the command of the fleet.
But that's the one from All Good Things. So it's like, well, we've built this for a show. We need that model. Let's have that. Aside from the space battles then, and incidentally, there is a great shot where we follow a photon torpedo. The camera follows it all the way from launch.
Yeah, and it sort of goes a bit.
And a couple of years later, in the shit film Pearl Harbor, one of the few things everybody praised was there's a shot where a bomb's dropped and the camera follows the bomb all the way down. And it's like, nah, DS9 did that a couple of years ago, mate. So don't be giving Michael Bay any kudos. I
don't think anyone got any kudos for Pearl Harbor.
True. Yeah. The hand-to-hand fighting's great as well. Like, the fighting ops is amazing. I love that Jadzia grabs a bat and Kira, when she gets stabbed and she rags it out of her thigh and then stabs the Klingon with it, it just, brilliant.
No, so he rags it out, sounds like you're saying something else.
True. But the good guys win. And
Gowron... So you missed a bit, which I really love. I love the fact that... Okay, it's so obviously set up and payoff, but it's when you have that lovely little scene between Odo and Bashir.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And that, it's setting up to when Bashir then saves him's life because he actually is a bit handy with a phaser.
Yeah.
But it is a nice little scene. It's kind of
just
nice.
Like a nod between them. And
I do like how Odo's there. If a Klingon kills me, I'd expect a full option at least.
Yes, and there would be. But again, Martok changeling argument. Gowron agrees to stand down because it's the only.
He agrees by the words of Kalos.
Exactly, but Martok is really not happy about it. So Martok's obviously like, "Shit, that was going so well. We nearly." And Gowron,
because Worf goes to him, in the words of Kalos, winning a war to lose an empire is not a victory.
Yeah.
And Gowron just immediately knows the next part, and he goes, and losing
Accepting
a battle
defeat to save an empire is no loss.
It's no loss.
I also like the fact that it puts the button on the fact that Worf has been brought in to save the day, and he saves the day quite literally at the end.
And he's
It's a
saved it
final
by knowing
button.
Klingons.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
By being
But
able to talk to Klingon.
Gowron gets his best payoff line where he says, "You have sided against us in battle, and this we do not forgive. Switch on the eyes or forget." So brilliant. And then obviously we wrap up. So Cisco goes to see Worf. Worf's surprise, decided he's going to stay on the station, which we didn't see coming. O'Brien does a bit of sucking up here, like you couldn't ask for a better command teacher, O'Brien. What about Captain Picard? Oh no, he's the best as well. Shut up.
Well, to be fair, O'Brien probably wouldn't have seen Picard like that because he's had more time as Cisco.
No, I know. It's just O'Brien's whoever's in charge is the best.
Picard kept in a fucking transporter room for 5 years.
True.
I would like to throw in there though. There is a point where, to James's point, when they have that episode with his previous commander, he says it's like, "Oh, I credit myself with having served with the 2 finest captains in Starfleet, sir."
So now it's 3. Now it's 3.
He's established himself as a kiss up. He has
3. There are 3 greatest captains in Starfleet. 4. There are 4 greatest captains.
What about that one which you were ensign for? 4. There are 4.
Among the greatest captains in Starfleet are Picard, Cisco, the other guy. Anyway. And then, the Klingons refusing to give up the territory. So we've had the big fucking battle, but this is going to be part of our arc plot now. So they're not giving it up. And Cisco finishes this episode very much as he did the Jem'Hadar episode, where he basically says, "We're not going anywhere either."
Yeah.
And there you go. There's you set up for the next arc in DS9. There's you set up for the season. And if you were a new fan coming over from TNG, welcome to DS9. You're in for a hell of a ride from this point on.
And we know it doesn't feature a lot of the Dominion, but when you look at how this is manipulated by the Dominion,
it's all there.
This whole thing is manipulated from outside by Dominion.
Yeah, it absolutely. Like we said, they've gone, okay, network, you're telling us we have to do this, but we're still going to do that. We're just going to find a way of doing your thing as part of it as well. So
if you want the Klingons involved in a Dominion war, more ships the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is going to cost you, what was it at the time, $7 million this episode?
This was, I think it might have even been 12 or something.
Yeah, which maybe doesn't sound a lot nowadays.
No.
But this was made in, what, 95, 96?
Yeah.
Which was
can I also
ridiculous money.
Yeah.
I'd also like to throw into this that I know we don't do this really on this podcast, but this is a straight up 10 out of 10. Like, there's very few episodes of Star Trek in the pantheon which really hit that height. There's obviously those classic episodes of the original series, but it's really a straight up 10 out of 10. There is not a beat missed. There's not a plot point missed. There's not a performance missed.
There's also nothing thrown in that shouldn't be there.
No filler.
There's no filler, silly little
Which,
bit.
given that you're resetting everything and you're putting in all these points to go, this character is, this is who this character is, it could have felt forced. But when you're watching this in the original run, you didn't think about it at the time. It's only now when we're watching it with a critical eye.
When you watch it back, it doesn't feel forced at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel forced, but you do notice this is, this is a reset of that character. This is the reset of that character. They're telling you who they are. It's like one of the few.
Forced and it all works in the story.
No, none of it's jarring.
It's not going to see somebody just for the sake of meeting that character for the first time.
No, I mean, if you look at it, like, Jake Sisko's not in this episode. There's just no room for him.
Rob's not in this episode, but Rob is mentioned.
But they're secondary characters. Like, you don't mind them getting introduced later. Like, Rom isn't in it. He just gets mentioned.
Yeah, but Rob is very involved. And like I said, when we was with the pistol, what he's done, it's a forebearer of how important his engineering is going to be in the future.
It's absolutely
the guy is one of the greatest engineers The Federation.
I mean, there's very few pilots which do it this well, to be frank.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the few I can think of is actually bizarre, Paul. But I've always thought the Cheers pilot is a great example of like every character gets introduced and you know who they are from the beginning. But it feels like part of the episode. Oh, I love Cheers. It's my favorite show ever.
It holds up so well. Like,
but I've watched them so many times. It just
humorous according to Paramount.
Yeah.
The only thing which really annoys me is the fact that because I know it so well, because I used to watch it as a kid, I've watched it back so many times. I know exactly every time when they've had to replace the music for streaming or reshowing on TV.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like,
Funny Fools and Horses as well. I know.
Well, there's one where they play like it's winding up. Sorry, this is very off topic. There's one where they're playing this tune on this Ghetto Blaster, which was I Fought the Law and the Law One. They play it on the jukebox. They play it loads of places to try and wind up Becky in one of the later episodes.
Right.
And they replace that, and the song which they've got makes no sense to winding her up for that. And
it's a shame with stuff like that. Like, that's why Moonlighting's probably never going to be released ever again because there's too much licensed music in it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And you can join me for re-cheersing later.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so if you've not watched Way of the Warrior in a while, go watch it.
If you've never watched it, what's wrong with you? Stop watching us now. It's on Netflix. Go
it's on
watch
Netflix.
it.
Whoa, Elliot. Just wait 5 minutes, then watch it. Come on,
Yeah,
we're nearly done here.
Okay,
Don't stop watching us.
They can hang on.
An apocalypse while we've been on.
Yeah, they
just saying, Elliot. Come on,
down.
You never discourage the viewers from going away from your own broadcast. That's all I'm saying.
So,
and
anyway,
I'll even go. Can I just?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, mate. I know you're trying to wind up. Just a very quick one. Just to say, I watched this episode as part of a generic rewatch of DS9, which I've actually just got back to inspired by this. But just months ago, and it was still a fucking amazing watch. And that's not easy when you've just watched it so recently. Just
absolutely.
Throw that.
Yeah. Like I've only had, for various reasons this week, I've got sidetracked with things, so I've only watched it once this week.
Yeah.
But I've watched it just before this show, and it felt fresh.
Yeah.
It felt
absolutely.
Really, I've seen it so many times. I wouldn't like to think how many times I've watched this episode.
No, I agree. Yeah, it is a very, very special episode. But next week we're going to carry on with the Dominion War. The next two episodes we'll be looking at will be Hippocratic Oath and Starship Down. So a couple more DS9, couple more Dominion War to look at. In the meantime, you can reach out to us, retrekpod@gmail.com, @retrekpod on Twitter. Come and join us on Facebook. Check out the YouTube channels. Dr. Squee, what have we got on the Dr. Squee show?
I mean, just throw Retrek Modeling Studios as well. Bloody fantastic. Always a wonderful watch.
Yeah, I'll try to get a video out this week.
Tomorrow, please tune in. I'm going to be interviewing Colin Sell. So for people who know who he has been on the channel, the Radio 4, radio show, I'm Sorry, I'm a Clue, which has been going for almost, I think it's approaching 60 years now. I think it's been going, and he came in like 3 series in. So he's been doing all that time. He has worked with the greats in composing as well as being a music teacher. Sorry, I just grew up listening to this show, and I listened to it with my dad, and I know many people had that experience. So if you are a fan of I'm Sorry, I Haven't a Clue, or even just great composers, please do join me tomorrow night at 6. I'll be doing that live on all my social medias, and I'll be on the Dr. Squee Show radio show on SW20radio.co.uk next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
And we have... and let's all not forget to put in our diaries September the 10th and September the 11th for Squeefest 4.
Yes.
We're raising money this year for Shelter UK.
Thank you, sir. I will be making the first guest announcement this Saturday.
Oh, excellent. So keep an eye on our socials and you'll find out all about that. We'll be there. We're not fully locked in place what we're going to talk about yet. But,
yeah, there's talk of something a bit different, wasn't there? Which would be really cool. Something really cool, yeah.
Watch this space, and thanks for trekking with us this time. We'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you.
Kappa!
Goodbye.